Hi Legion, John Hitler, co-founder of the Evoking Genius and co-creator of the Genius Discovery Process with another edition of Pure Genius. Hey, you're working at your current level, we'll call it normal. How do you raise to your next new normal? How do you bump up? How do you get better? How do you do that every single day in a way that's engaging and fun? Wow, big question. Well, I coach CEOs, entrepreneurs, team leaders, and individuals to create lasting behavior change by making transformation safer and more attractive than standing still. And today we've got a transformative strategy that'll make moving from your current normal to your new normal safer and more attractive than standing still. You want to play? Great. Let's spin the big wheel. Well, here's a couple of questions for you. What if your new normal were much better than your current normal? Wow, would you go for it? What if it were safer? What if it were more attractive? Did you notice what I just did? I engaged a question, and what we claim, it's an incredibly powerful two-word question. Did you hear it? What if? What if, when it starts a question, is an incredibly powerful way to engage your creative brain. That's why people who are visionaries tend to use it. How about this one? You may recognize it. What if we created a device that could hold your music in a small form? We called that the iPod. Well, it hadn't been thought of. Nobody thought of it. Actually, the first version was called an MP3 player. And I think Sony or Samsung invented it. And when Jobs called it 100 songs in your pocket, people said, that's what I want 100 songs in my pocket. What if I could have 100 songs in my pocket? And it sold like hotcakes. And it was called the iPod. Well, inventions work this way. President Kennedy said, essentially, what if we put a man on the moon by the end of this decade? He didn't say it that way. He said, we will put a man on the moon. But he engaged people's senses by this idea of what if. So why is it so powerful? Why is it so powerful compared to asking questions in a different mode? Well, I'll tell you why. It's the reason or the way that the brain functions. There's two main functions in the brain. There's actually three. One takes care of your heartbeat and your breathing, and we don't think much about that because it handles all the automatic functions of your body, even if you're asleep. Great, we're going to leave that out. The other two parts, though, we use all the time. One is our neocortex. Now that's the part of the brain that has language and logic. So we use it when your boss says, I need you to justify your budget numbers because we've got to shave 10% off. So can you please, if you will, defend your budget numbers? Oh, great. Can you write a creative essay and take this point of view as opposed to this point of view? Yeah, you create a reasonable, factual, logical argument. Our neocortex is really good at that. This is where language and logic predominantly sit or rest in your brain. Super helpful, but not so helpful when you want to create or design. That part falls more appropriately in what we call the limbic brain. Some people call it the reptilian brain or the old brain. There is no language there, but more importantly, there's no logic. And it's where you house your emotions and make decisions. Oh, so when you ask a question, what if, you're asking a paradigm or a possibility or an opportunity that doesn't now exist. If you send that to your neocortex is really good at coming up with all of the logical answers why it won't work. So it's, if you will, the incorrect part of your brain to go to with a question or with a design. When you ask it in the structure of what if, your limbic brain doesn't know any better. That's my language, and simply figures out ways, creative ways, to bring it to existence. So try this. What if I created a product that were more profitable than our original one. A second product. Oh, that's a cool idea. Hadn't thought of that. Now, if you declared it and said, it would sound something like this. Let's do a second product. What do you guys think? You're talking to your team. What do you guys think about creating a second product? You've thrown it into the neocortex, and what happens is the team will come up with all the reasons, pro and con. But the problem is, when you have pro and con, you're conflicted. So it takes a second meeting, and by the time the energy's beaten out of that, your second product doesn't look the same. When you ask it in the linguistic structure, or the neuro-linguistic structure of what if, it only opens possibilities. It doesn't open negatives, because you've thrown it to the emotional, creative part of your brain, and your brain locks onto it. That's why what if at the beginning of a question as a structure is an incredibly powerful way to ask questions. So we suggest get to the correct part of the brain, the limbic brain. It'll help you out doing that. Okay, so now you've got that idea that you're going to send these possibilities to your limbic brain. What would you create? What would you ask for first? How about this? What if I got to 175 pounds? Oh, wow, I'm 205 now. What if? Your brain will go to work on it. What if I fell in love? It's not asking what are the possibilities of me falling in love, or what are the possibilities of me meeting someone online. It's not asking that, because the problem is your neocortex handles that question. That's an information question, and your neocortex will say, well, the statistics are this. You've been on the online dating site for a year and you haven't met anybody special. Your neocortex will talk you out of it. Your limbic brain won't, if you language the question correctly. So you start with what if. What would happen, or what if I played full out every day in my career? Oh, well, I hadn't thought of that. New possibilities arise because you're in the correct part of the brain. So I'll tell you a quick story. New Year's Eve 2013, so it was 2012 moving into 2013, held a dinner party. I do that every year. Intimate, 10, sometimes 12 people, but usually 8, 10, or 12 people. We cook really nice food, and we have an early dinner party. We finish by 10:30 or 11. People don't want to be out on the road, at least not I don't. And I don't drink. So we have an intimate dinner party with a rich conversation. And usually the conversation is around setting yourself up for the coming year. Now, we don't do New Year's resolutions. We don't do goal setting. We don't do practical, logical. It's not a business seminar. But what we do often come up with are your themes, or your primary theme or context for the new year. So we don't say, what are you going to do this year? We say, what would your context be for this coming year? A very good friend of mine was in transition, kind of in a pivot, and really ascending, if you will, really coming into her own. And her context for the year, she came up with it, was anything's possible. And everybody said, wow, that's a really cool context for the year. Yeah, anything's possible. That's really cool. Because it would allow the possibility for anything to happen. And we sat with it for a sec, and the way the dinner party worked was you would kind of throw this out as a proposal, and people would ask questions, or they might gently push back. There was nothing fierce, but it was to help you get greater clarity. And what I noticed was the language wasn't sitting with me very well. And I didn't quite know why. And I asked her, I said, would you consider shifting the language from anything's possible to what if? And it took her a second. She said, I like what if better. Now, she didn't know why, because she wasn't able to logically figure it out. So we talked about it as a table. The 10 of us, we had 10 that year, talked about it as a table. Here's what came up. Here's the difference between anything's possible and what if. The first one is, anything's possible sits in the neocortex. It's more logical that anything could be possible. Because truthfully, anything is possible. Is it possible that you could get hit by a meteor tomorrow? Or eaten by a bear? Or hit by lightning? Sure it is. But your neocortex will say, come on, get up out of bed and go to work. That's not going to happen. It's more logical. What if is less logical and more possible or opportunity because it's creative. So anything's possible sits in the neocortex. What if sits in the limbic brain. Better place to live your life if you're being aspirational and you want to go from your current normal to your new normal. Oh, okay. So we discovered this as a table. Well, the second one was not as obvious. But I'll ask you, whose responsibility is it to provide the opportunities associated with anything's possible? Isn't it the universe's responsibility to provide you opportunities, and your job's to say, oh wow, here's an opportunity right at my feet. It is something that's possible, and my job is to say yes or no. But it's the universe's job, or the world's job, to present the opportunities, the possibilities, if you will, and your job's to say, I'll take it. Here's the difference. What if it's my responsibility to provide the opportunities? You tell me. Do you trust yourself to provide the opportunities better, or the universe to present them better? It's what we call self-responsibility. And what if puts the responsibility of creating the opportunities in my court. Huge difference. Absolutely huge difference when I'm in charge of creating the opportunities versus waiting for the universe to create them. Because take something like anything's possible. You know, I could fall in love this year. Your neocortex will say, yeah, well, the universe, don't worry, the right guy or the right woman will show up. They may. And you're waiting on the universe to provide you the right person. What if puts the responsibility on me? You say, well, what if? Oh, gosh, your creative brain goes to work and says, what would it take? Who do I have to become? What do I have to do? Where do I have to be? You know, how open do I have to be? All that kind of stuff. Because now it's my responsibility. So that's a huge difference, is who's responsible. One's self-responsibility, one's entitlement or waiting, if you will. I'd just as soon be responsible for hunting my own dinner than waiting for somebody to place dinner on my front door. Because I think I could hunt better, or at least I'm the one responsible if I don't, versus waiting for the world to do it for me. So the last one is the power unleashed by what if versus anything possible. Again, we kind of assessed it as a table very unscientifically. We said, which is more powerful? Essentially, we were asking, which is more powerful? Self-responsibility or waiting on the universe? And it's much more powerful to own the what-if statement. So I'll ask you, what would you ask powerfully using this structure? What would you ask for first? Try it. What if I drop my weight to fill in the blank? Here's what happens. Your brain locks onto it and says, wow, that's a possibility. It hadn't existed as a possibility until I languaged it. What if I created a new product in my business that were twice as profitable as my current product? Oh, wow, I had never thought of that. We're so busy supporting and developing and improving our first product, I never thought of that. It's just a possibility, and it's in my wheelhouse to do it. Here's the key to doing it. When you ask what-if questions, 2 tips. The first is, be simple. What if I blah, 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 and this and that, and blah, blah, blah. You go, what if we could trade LeBron and get a 3rd-round pick and win the World Championship all in the same year? You go, it's convoluted and doesn't make any sense. What if I fell in love? Simple. So the first is simplicity. You want your what-if statement to be simple. Second, you want it to be specific. Now, you can be specific in your theme, or you can be specific like, what if I created a second product? That's specific. Or compare that to, what if I created a second product that were twice as profitable as my first one? Both are simple. Both are specific. Both open up possibilities or opportunities that hadn't yet been in existence until you threw it into your limbic brain. You can do this. It's simple, it's doable, and here's the trick. It unleashes the incredible power in your limbic, if you will, creative brain to shift from your current normal to your new normal. And as we like to say, you'll transform safer and more attractively than standing still. That's why the question's so powerful. Hey, if this was helpful, like and share this with your audience. My suspicion is they'll like it too. And until we meet again on Pure Genius, all the best.